been a hot minute. All right, everyone get
approval. I'm here, Megan. I'm just driving right now, so it might take me a second to get home, but I'll try and safely watch while I can.
Yeah, no worries and stuff. Drive safely. You're okay. Everything's good. No rush. And now, okay, I got to switch this here and then go to here. Don't mind me. We're going to live. I talk to myself while I do stuff. I'm very sorry.
I'm giving you a lot of props for knowing how to, I don't operate this. This is not my world, so I'm impressed.
It's been a
journey.
Yeah, it's been a journey over many times before while we've had to do this. We're not sharing it to the public. We are sharing it to your group, Women in Athlete Training. Oh. Okay. All right, ready? It says we're going to go live. It'll probably take a hot second here before it actually goes live. Set up your meeting in your live space. Okay. Are we live now? Does it say live on your guys's?
Does on mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it up on Facebook.
Perfect. That is great. I'm going to minimize that so I don't. I had to get the approval of myself. That's interesting. I haven't seen that before where I'm the one that going live and then it says this is going live. I'm like, yeah, I know. I just did that.
I just asked for that. Yeah.
I just asked for that. Okay. Sorry. So, hello, Women in Athletic Training. My name is Megan Smith, and we have a couple of the WAT board members here with some of a couple of directors with NATA to help answer some of our frequently asked questions and get some of the answers that you guys have presented with us. We call these uncorked interviews so that we have a true kind of casual conversation to get the answers and hopefully educate further. I am Megan Smith. I will be kind of the moderator, and then we'll have and I'll let the other board members introduce themselves, and then I will introduce our special guests here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angelica Sabatini. I'm also on the WAT board.
Maggie, are you?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Maggie Burton, and I'm also a member of the WAT board.
So we have these two wonderful women here with us to talk about NATA with some of the questions you guys have presented us. First, we have Meredith Daniels. I'm sorry, it's a long day already, you know.
Go with it. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. She's been with NATA for 17 years, working in the association and management, or has been specifically with NATA since February of 2016. You know, she's an MSU Spartan grad who studied advertising and PR in undergraduate and graduate degree in public service from DePaul and Chicago. So happy to have you here. And then we also have Linnell Armour. I'm so sorry. Armour.
Knight in shining.
Yeah, knight in shining. I love that.
Ooh, that's great.
I won't forget that now for sure. I'm very excited. She spent 25 years in public relations and in marketing. Most of those years have been spent in arts organizations, and just has been with the NATA for officially 1 year as of Tuesday. So congratulations. Yeah. She is trained in class. She's a classical musician and a proud graduate of the University of Tennessee. Wrong orange. I'm very sorry.
Very wrong orange. Yes, sir. It's
yeah,
okay.
I am not a Longhorns fan personally. I went to grad school at Oklahoma, so I can't say that, but but I saw the T and my brain just went to Texas.
Oh yeah, it's understandable. Yeah, it's fine.
So you currently live in Texas now, and that's where you currently reside, even though you've lived in Southern Illinois and Chicago and can drive a tractor.
Yes, I can. Don't tell me.
And she has been meeting with athletic trainers and leading the Marcom team and to provide resources and advocate for the profession overall. Thank you again, both of you, for being here today and spending the time to talk with all of us about this. We are having this uncorked conversation to share some of those primary questions you shared with us to support about support from the NATA. We are, I lost my spot already on this drag. We're doing so good. Okay. We're happy to have this conversation, and we'll get rolling with some of these questions that you had for us. So I think Angelica's starting us off with that first question, and then we'll kind of keep going from there and just, yeah.
So our first question that we had from a lot of our members in the group was, how do you guys feel that NATA is advocating for us in regards to salary?
That is a great question. And we know that this is one of the main pain points for athletic trainers. And so it is, we are actively working to help in this area. Now, as you know, we can't set salaries. You know, we're not a union, so we can't do anything like that. What we can do is provide resources for you to be able to advocate for yourselves. The salary survey is one of those resources where you can actually show what salary should be, where they should be, and you can go in and take that to your administrator or whoever is making your salary decisions, and gives you actual factual information that you can advocate for yourself. We also have resources that help show your value, because that's really key. You have to show what your value is. And it's terrible to me that you have to prove your value, because, for example, a nurse doesn't have to prove their value, right? Why should an athletic trainer have to prove their value? But unfortunately, it's true at this time. Hopefully, it won't always be that way. So we give you resources to help you show what that value is, even from a liability standpoint for the company, from workers' compensation, you know, all that kind of thing. I mean, you have real value that you can bring to an organization, and that goes in to your salary negotiation. The other thing that we're doing specifically, and this is going to be at least a year-long initiative, we just published a member statement last week that I hope you saw, that was talking about the state of employment in athletic training. And it touches on all these pain points, on salary, on work-life balance, on, you know, lack of resources in the workplace, all of those things. It touches on those, brings up those problems, and offers solutions. And we're targeting employers specifically, right? We are trying to get this message out to employers. We're actually going to implement a year-long ad campaign targeting employers to show them, here's what's happening, here's your problem, here are some solutions, here's what we are suggesting that you do to solve this problem. And part of that, as you've probably heard about, is that there's a shortage of athletic trainers. We found that that isn't true. There is not a shortage of athletic trainers. There's a shortage of applicants for those jobs, because those jobs are not attractive enough to get the athletic trainers to apply for them, right? So if you're not being able to fill your job, you have to look at, what is that job? What are you offering? You need to come up to a standard where you're going to get those applicants. So that's going to be a focus for us. And we are going to be doing timely topics events. We're, like I said, we're targeting employers for a year-long advertising campaign. This is something that is really top of mind for NATA right now.
Well, did you mention the compensation work group and the compensation conversation?
I did
pieces
not.
at all?
I can, yeah.
You
So
should. That's great.
we
too.
actually, as you probably know, there is a compensation task force, and they have started putting together a podcast series that has been the initial series on the NATA cast, called Compensation Conversations. And it's all about compensation from different levels, different experts that have come on. I think they've done 6 already, and we've still got more to go. they're actually going to be doing a live podcast at convention this year on compensation. We're going to do a panel discussion where people can be interactive and ask questions. So this is another way that we're trying to move the needle forward.
I just want to chime in that I think Linnell touched on this. It's a combination of what the organization can do and the tools that we can hand to our members, and then of course making sure that our members feel ready, feel prepared, feel worthy to have those conversations to move that forward, right? Making sure that you can walk into that room and sure have the data that says I'm worth it, and actually you believe, hey, I'm worth this. This is what I'm doing for you, and have yourself ready to go and work through your own negotiation skills. I mean, I don't think especially women in the workplace, we can be our own worst enemies. So making sure that everybody has the tools and are prepared to advocate for themselves. It's a combination of working from both angles on that side, right?
So I'm actually on that compensation task force. I am, and part of specifically the gender equity subcommittee. So yeah, there's a lot of like things that, going on. And I know for specifically our subcommittee, we've been trying to work really hard to kind of address that equitable type of pay. So, and try to figure out how we can help with that. So yeah, like, I'm glad you brought that up.
It's a good one. It's a lot of work and a lot of energy.
We've been working really hard.
It's a lot of energy. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of really great big brains working together to move things forward, to do as much of the heavy lifting as we can for the membership on a whole, and then hand this nicely, beautifully packaged, here's what you need to do. Here are the steps, and hope everybody takes that to the next spot.
Kind of like following up with that, like next question of like, we talked about, Linnell, you mentioned the job postings, and, there's so many out there, and people it's not a shortage of athletic trainers, it's short of a job that people actually want to work with pay and benefits and all the other things, and work-life balance and that flow between the two of work and balance, because we all know that athletic trainers, it's not always a balance. Is the NATA working on updating or restricting postings on the job board that indicate of being paid below their worth or that value you just mentioned earlier? And then are you following, like, if that you are declining these job opportunities, are you declining them and then educating them on what a true value may be? Obviously, it's going to be different from place to place, and we can't, like you said, we can't set that salary, but then kind of give further guidelines of, again, like you mentioned, why people don't want to apply to that, or why this isn't meeting our standards,
Yeah, certainly. So we do the job board itself is an automated system. So you can go in and post a job, and we ask you point blank, does this meet our requirements? Are you agreeing to this? Here they are. Is this a good job? We make sure that you put in a salary. You can't put in a job without putting in numbers. But of course, some people have worked their way around the system, or maybe not been as truthful, or found a way to just put a number, not the right numbers, just to get past the system. So I will say that it's not, there's not a person reviewing every single job that goes up. We expect to put some responsibility on those that are going through the form to be answering truthfully, because they say they're going to be answering truthfully. That said, are there errors? Are there people who don't? Yeah. And more often than not, our members will just let us know, hey, this is here. It's not good. And that's when we jump in and we'll absolutely follow up. We'll go back to them and say, you can correct it, or you can take this down. You can make sure that you're gonna follow the rules that you said you're going to follow, or we wish you the best of luck. You can go ahead and take that elsewhere, and see how it goes. And I know that I've heard criticism over the years about the Career Center, and I know it's not perfect, but by golly, it really is a fantastic resource. And please don't make fun of me for saying by golly, but I just genuinely think that it's easy to be hard on it, because it's an easy thing to kind of pick at, but we've made so many improvements over the years. You can sort by salary, you can flag, we've added a lot of different filters that'll allow you to go through and search. We're actually going to be running some campaigns coming up here to hopefully redirect folks back to the Career Center. We have a ton of jobs there, there's no question, and it does get good views, but to get folks to post some updated resumes and along those lines to continue to drive that and hopefully see the Career Center beyond just being a place to go when you need a job, but also just a place to go to continue to improve yourself as a professional. I've always believed in, you know, having your resume there, having it available to you, keeping it up to date, keeping up with practices, making sure that you are always going to be always ready to be a candidate, if that's indeed, you know, the life sometimes that's the life we live these days, right? Like, you need to be ready to go. So to have those resources, not just for the new graduate or not just for somebody who's desperately searching, but to have those resources and pull people in regularly to say, hey, check in, here's some new best practices. Have you reviewed your resume? Here's some words that you might have that we have resume review tools. We've got free resume reviews. We've got mock interviews. We've got so much to offer people that is above and beyond just going through and scrolling through jobs, but we also have jobs to scroll through. So it really is a valuable resource, and we will continue to do anything we can to keep it looking its best. But I urge you, let us know if you send an email to membership@nata.org because you saw a posting that's garbage. Well, we really do fix it. That doesn't go into a black hole. That a person within 24 hours will tell you, thank you, we got this, and we're going to go ahead and move forward. And there was a bit of a, you know, the other half of that is we don't just go back to them and say, you're doing it wrong. We do explain why. Here's the data, here's the information, here's what, you know, sometimes the people putting the jobs on the Career Center are people who work in an HR department. They're not necessarily athletic trainers. The heartbreaking part and the hardest part is when it is an athletic trainer. And that happens too, where we have to look at, you know, we have to look at a member of ours and say, you know, you've got to do better. Like, this isn't we've got to do this together. What can we do? So yeah, it's definitely an awesome resource. It's definitely there, and let us know if you are running into issues with it, because we do try to address those.
Angelica, you have that next one, or do you want me to do that? I can get it. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm losing it. So, you know, with that, we're trying to kind of protect the next generation of ATs from burnout, and like, we're educating each other on burnout and whatnot, and that trying to, again, find that ideal workplace where we find that balance. You know, internships are probably the new route for those individuals who are coming back or graduating with their MSAT degrees. You know, for a traditional setting, you know, how are we protecting this? Unpaid internships are something that's kind of hard to be afforded now, seeing that they're not getting that additional education like we could justify with a graduate assistantship or whatnot. You know, how is that being kind of taken into play as well within that Career Center and that job board? Sorry, I talk with my hands a lot if you haven't noticed.
No, you're okay. I'm half Italian. So technically internships aren't recognized because technically internships aren't a thing. There are residencies through programs that actually have gone through the process to create a residency. And those are available. But internships themselves aren't really something that, I mean, if you're a certified professional, the last thing you should be doing is calling yourself an intern. So that's kind of the trick. Now, clinical immersion experience, and that's something I'd love to talk a little bit more about. That's the other half of it, right? So we have been working over the past few years, and it is continuously getting better, working through creating a system that allows students to connect with clinical immersion experiences throughout the country. We have some really, really cool ones up there. What were we talking about? There's one at NASA. There's like some there's really awesome clinical immersion experiences for students. So, and it's true, those are sometimes there can be a financial portion of that makes that unattainable for some people. No question. If it's not going to pay you, or you can't afford to live while you're doing it and not be making money because you're not a certified professional, you shouldn't be making money off of athletic training just yet. But some of those programs do come with living expenses that are covered, or other pieces to help increase affordability. So that's the direction I'd be looking at. But yeah, internship itself, if you are a credential carrying athletic trainer, if you are an ATC, should not be accepting an internship. You can be looking for entry-level jobs. You should certainly get yourself a mentor to help ease that transition. But as far as I'm aware, and unless that's changed, I always leave myself a little room to go, maybe I've missed something, because education certainly isn't more my world. That would go to our knowledge initiatives department. But realistically, you should be having an entry-level job at that point. And again, I'll lean on the importance of adding a mentor into the mix for your own development to help make that easier. But hopefully, so can I ask that question? Are you guys seeing internship? Is that a thing? Are you seeing that on your side?
I mean, I currently work at a university that has an MSAT program, and we do have the clinical immersion, but we have seen some, if I remember correctly, some internships posted that are, I don't know directly at NATA, but I have seen internship postings that it literally just says an AT intern. And so I just wasn't sure if that was, something that, is part of the conversation as well, because obviously, they are certified now, and that's like you said, if you're a certified athletic trainer, your entry level is more than good for you to be able to do your job versus an internship.
Yeah,
And
nobody should be working for free unless you choose to volunteer your time for something you're passionate about. That's a whole different deal, but you should not be working your jobs for free.
Yeah.
So no.
And just to touch a little bit about preventing burnout, we do have resources, we have some mental health resources, we have things like that. And it's really important. And that's kind of a universal thing right now, isn't it? Kind of that burnout. And I think part of this new initiative with the state of athletic training and employment addresses some of that. Those are also issues that we're talking with employers about, that people deserve to have a life outside of work, that you deserve that. And so making employers aware of what they can actually expect and demand from athletic trainers. And, that's something that's also being addressed.
I think the favorite term I've heard around that so far has been work-life ratio.
Work-life ratio. That's Kathy's term. Yeah.
Which I actually
ratio.
I really do appreciate that, because I feel like anybody who is, enter professional here, and then maybe you are a dog mom, a kid mom, a whatever, a soccer mom on top of that, enter, and then you're also, you're also an adult child taking care of your parents, caregiving on one side or the other, or whatever the case may be. I mean, to expect balance at this point as a professional in general seems like that's a crazy expectation. But can you find the ratio that works for you, that you're comfortable with, that you can work around, and that's compensating you appropriately? That's the other half of it. I feel like in my professional life, outside of athletic training and beyond, I've certainly seen people choose to give up huge chunks of their lives to dedicate, because they do want the money, and they do it because they're getting paid and they love it. And there's nothing wrong with having that available with that particular path, if that's your path. But I think the important thing is making sure that path is compensated. I mean, This is your time on this earth. You only have so much of it. You should be doing the thing you want to do. You should find the ratio you need, and you should be compensated if you're giving up your time.
I wanted to touch on two things that you said. I think the clinical immersion, not job postings, but like that opportunity, I think that's awesome for like the younger students, just because it gets them outside of where they're going to school as well. Like we don't have, where I work, we're small D3 school, like we don't have a program, and we've gotten a few students like over the past few years from different master's programs around, even in different states. And I think it's just been a great opportunity for them to come help us, as well as them helping, or us helping them as well. So I think that's a great opportunity, like even for like us to look into, to post. Like we really can't offer housing, but it might be something that we can look into. Like our assistants, all of our assistant coaches are interns, and that's just how it is at our college. So I don't know if maybe we can get one somehow like that, like a housing for these students that are coming to us in a clinical immersion. That's definitely something I want to look into. And real quick, a little story about salary kind of thing. One of my when I was flying home with our softball team, I mentioned we went to on spring break. One of the girls asked me, they're like, "Do you love your job?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And they were like, "Well, are you happy with your salary?" And I kind of chuckled and I was like, I don't know that I'm happy with it, but there are so many other things that I get from my job. Like I said, I'm here in Florida for a week for free. I don't pay for anything, not a flight, not housing, not food, nothing. Wow. And I kind of explained that to them. I was like, there's so many other things that I get from my job, not just my paycheck. And then the girl came in the next day and she's like, I started looking into athletic training. So I might actually look at, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited for you. So, and I kind of think like a lot of times we focus so much on what we're getting paid. And yeah, that's such a big aspect, but like, what else are you getting from your job too?
Well, and what are you getting that's right for you at that moment? You know, right now, a week in Florida with all expenses paid works for you, right? There may come a time in your life and career where that's more of a burden than it is an exciting thing. And then what's that next step look like? You know, can you make sure that if you're going to do it, like that's the tricky part, but that's true I think that's true across a lot of careers. You know, certainly my career path included. They have to decide how you want to juggle that and how you're going to work. But considering actually something we added to our career center, I can't remember the exact wording that's on there, but we tried saying something along the lines of non-monetary compensation or something to help people try to quantify things above and beyond the payment itself to you and what else you get. You know, we've certainly seen, and sometimes that's the conversation you have when you call an employer and you say this job is posted and it looks really rough, and they go, well, hold on, you don't understand. You get housing, you get food, you get your laundry done, you get a full wardrobe, you get meals, you get this, you get, like, it ends up being, when you start to add together, you're like, oh, okay. It makes a lot more sense. But those are harder pieces to quantify. And again, it's only if it works for you, right? There's a time and that's the tricky thing, is making sure that we can, I think, keep people in that profession as their life needs continue to change, and they can still find the job that continues to be the right match for the direction that your life goes.
Well, and Angelica, one of the things that you said, that you love your job. And as I've met athletic trainers, as I've learned more and more about the profession over this past year, you all are a passionate bunch, right? You do this job because you love it. And how many people actually get to say that? You know, how many people can really say, if they go to a factory every day and they're putting widgets on something, do they love their job? Probably not, right? But you get to do something every day that you love and you're passionate about, and you're changing lives every single day. And so there are things that go above and beyond just salary. Do you need to be compensated appropriately? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. But the fact that you get up every morning excited to go to work because you love what you do, that's something that you are ahead of the game for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I just wanted to touch on something. You guys were asking about the internships or, intern positions that, we might be seeing. I think what some of us are starting to see now is some institutions are turning their graduate assistant positions that they had, that they were, usually able to compensate as, okay, we're going to give you a stipend, but we're going to pay for school for you. We're seeing those positions turn into, like, an entry level internship. So it's like, instead of getting, I've worked at institutions where, we had interns, we called them interns, but, we paid them a stipend, and compensated them hourly, but they only worked so many hours a week. But they were certified athletic trainers like anyone else in the room was. So I'm from Tennessee. So I'm, primarily speaking potentially for this southeast region, I've seen several institutions that have, or advertising, I guess, intern positions, and they're trying to treat it more as like an entry level, like they would like a graduate assistant position. You know, so that's just my experience. Obviously it's different other places, but I've worked in places where it's both been a entry level and also been more of like a clinical immersion type of experience. So maybe it's just different wording that institutions are using, and that you know, might be something that needs to be addressed. But that's just in my experiences what I've seen, at least. And then the other thing I want to talk about or wanted to touch on is Gather. I don't know, you know, I'm sure you guys know about it, but the Gather, the volunteer opportunities and like things like that, I was on there today, and you know, I just saw the clinical immersion experiences, and I just think that's so cool that that's a place that I think people don't necessarily always think to look at. They're looking at job postings or they're Googling things, but like Gather has, you know, at least in the time that I've been on there and been an athletic trainer, I've looked at, you know, I'm in my 6th year now doing this, and it's kind of gone into a place where things like that can be seen. And I think that that's something that might need to be, you know, maybe something that not just, you know, NATA, but other athletic trainers advocate for, is that this is a resource, like this is there. I mean, I'm a part of the educationalist committee because I got on Gather and volunteered, you know. So I think that's, like you guys were saying, one of the resources that might be a little underutilized that we're trying to get everyone to utilize more. But I think that's, you know, speaking like the career center and job postings and stuff, I think it's a great.
I agree. Gather is an incredible tool, and it's tricky in this world where we also have places like Facebook, right, where you can have community and groups, but that's a specific kind of conversation, right? It might be a little bit more informal. It might be, and that's okay. There's a place for that. There's a time for that. Gather is a different kind of tool. Obviously you can also have some informal conversations if that's the direction you want to go, but you can do some very real networking. You can make very real contacts. You mentioned the volunteer piece. That's huge. I mean, you fill out a volunteer profile one time, and then you tell us what you're interested in. Every time there's a volunteer position that comes up that fits whatever criteria you said you were interested in, we let you know. So it's just the next time you go to apply for that position, it's just a couple clicks. Your stuff's already there. It's really easy on you. We're really trying to make these processes we just from the staff side. So Gather's my baby, right? Gather is the thing that I launched a few years ago. And it's continued to evolve, and it's picked up some good steam in the past 12 months, honestly. I think really kind of beefing up a lot of the volunteer stuff on that piece has been helping, but it can do so much. It's such a powerful tool, but the people have to be there to do it. So thank you for mentioning it. And if you are viewing this on Facebook, or anybody has a question about how to use it, or just literally is like, I'm overwhelmed every time I try to log into it, something happens, or whatever the case may be, contact member services. Heck, contact me. We'll set up a Zoom. We'll walk through together, whatever it takes to get, because it's so easy to use once you're on it. There's just, with any new piece of technology, you know, the first time you set up your profiles or whatever, it always kind of feels a little clunky. But once you're in it, it's really not difficult. And it's got so much to offer. So I'll stop. But I just thank you for mentioning it. You make me feel so much better. Thank you.
Yes, that was the goal. Mission accomplished. No. So, okay, I guess kind of going off of that, you know, we've kind of talked a little bit about what are we doing for this next generation. You know, what are we doing for the athletic trainers we already currently have? But, you know, what specifically is the NATA doing to try and help not just keep, you know, young individuals in the profession, but also keep, you know, those that are more veteran in the profession? How are we working to limit our burnout, and kind of in respect to that, how are we working to recruit the next generation for when we, you know, kind of move on from this?
Linnell, you start on this one.
I'm so sorry. I know that was a lot. I'm so sorry. It kind of just went on a tangent there, but we kind of touched on it a little. But you know,
Well, we've
just
got
dive a little deeper.
veterans. Yeah, we've got veterans, and you said burnout, and you said what else was the third piece?
Recruitment. I'll start with that one. Okay, so student
Yeah.
recruitment. I'm going to start with that. So this summer, now most of you are probably aware of the At Your Own Risk website, atourOwnRisk.org, which is our public-facing resource. So it's geared for parents, for school administrators, you know, and employers, letting them know what athletic trainers are, what they do, how to employ one, you know, what there are checklists to go through if you're a potential employer, or how you can find athletic trainers. All of that information is on that public-facing website. As a companion to At Your Own Risk, this summer we're going to be launching a new website called AT for Me. AT for Me, right? The number 4. So, and it is a website dedicated just to students, for student recruitment. So all the resources that will be there are designed for students. There's actually going to be 3, I'm going to call them buckets, right? So one bucket is for high school students, to let them get acquainted with the profession and what their educational path would be, how they find accredited programs, so all those kinds of things. The middle bucket would be for current students, the ones who are already in an athletic training program, and those resources about career paths, what to do next, all of that is going to be in that bucket. And then the third bucket is going to be for preceptors and how they deal with students, resources to help their students. So this website is, I think, is going to be really powerful and a really powerful way to recruit. And we're making partnerships and relationships along the way with other organizations who can help us get that message out to the younger generation, and looking at athletic training as a real viable career path for them. So look for AT for Me launching hopefully right around convention time. Are you taking over now, Meredith?
Is it me? Am I next? Well, my dog was crying in the background. Sorry, Ted can't help himself. He's real cute, but he's like, Mom, why aren't we snuggling in bed right now? Veterans, what are we doing? What are we doing in terms of supporting folks that have been in the profession for a long time? Not to harp on it too hard, but going back into the Career Center, helping people understand what they can do to keep themselves in the game professionally, if that's the goal, to stay up to date, so making sure that your basics are up to date and ready to go, your CV, your resume, all those pieces. Obviously educational development through our KI group, that's a whole different, I mean, that's endless tools depending on where you are, from early career to much later, right through leadership development, which got some really strong programs, and more on the way for leadership development throughout. So I think that's another place to look. We have a robust program for our retired membership. It's actually really cool too, for some of our older folks who are kind of
seasoned is the word.
Seasoned. I'm sorry. I don't think of old as being a bad word. I hope it's not. I'm here for it, but I will take seasoned as well. For some of the folks that are on the kind of the tail end of their career, but looking to still stay connected. And ATA offers a pretty great membership program around that. The other thing is becoming a mentor, and we kind of talked a little bit about, there's 2 pieces within Gather that you can do. You can sign up to be mentored if you're looking for that, but you can also sign up to be a mentor. So that's one piece if you want to look at a formal mentorship program and put some time and energy into the youths of today to help everybody continue to grow within the profession. That's one look at it. The other half, of course, is volunteering, and taking that seasoned knowledge and putting it to work for the profession as a whole and for the organization and your fellow members. So that's another really big piece of it. Would love to know if there's something. Got a 6-year-old behind me asking me questions right now. Hold on. But I want to know if there's anything else specific that you guys would be looking for our more seasoned folks. We're always looking at new programs, so we're also always open to suggestions. And the last one was burnout. I feel like we talked about burnout a little bit, but we can keep going into it. I mean, it's not unique to athletic training right now. I can tell you that.
Right.
We've all
Well,
seen the
and
memes.
you know, even if people are really experiencing and burnout, whether it, I mean, when it gets to the point where you need someone to talk to, you need support. I mean, there's AT's Care. And you can contact AT's Care and you can actually have someone that you can, you know, have these conversations with and get some support. And they've all been trained in how to do this. You know, they are counselors. So that's always a resource as well.
I think kind of playing off of that, you know, with the burnout and things like that, you know, we're seeing, you know, at least something we're seeing in some of our posts by our members in our, you know, group that we have is individuals are now moving out of that more traditional type of setting, and moving into, you know, private practice, or are moving into an industrial setting, or things like that. When you kind of see those numbers, is there anything that NATA is doing or potentially maybe working on doing with some of these institutions that maybe these individuals are leaving from, to say like, hey, we've noticed a trend, you've got so many people leaving in this amount of time, like, is there any resources or things like that that we're sending to those institutions when that kind of happens?
Yes. And that's exactly why the State of Athletic Training began with the collegiate setting. The ICSM actually did a white paper on all of that right there. This is why people are leaving the collegiate setting. We did a timely topic on it. It's still available online if you want to see that. But yes, absolutely. I mean, we know what the problems are. We know what the issues are. We know where they are. But until the institutions themselves are made aware of that and understand what those problems are, and that there are solutions, and here are the steps you need to take, that's where we're stepping in, and we're actively trying to move that needle and trying to get that education out there. Because again, collegiate, you're going to hear in collegiate setting that there's a shortage. No, there's not a shortage. Your jobs are just not good enough, right? So this is the message. And so we started with collegiate. There's going to be additional timely topics for D1, D2, D3, NAI, all of that. We're going to touch on all of those and the specific problems within those particular groups. And then this summer, it's supposed to be done this summer. They're actively doing it now. The secondary schools, they are also doing the same type of survey. They're going to do a white paper about the state of athletic training and employment in secondary schools, because they're experiencing the same kinds of problems on different levels, but they're experiencing the same things. So absolutely, it's one of our key issues as we're moving forward.
I think it's worth pointing out too, a lot of what NATA is going to continue to do is support people who are talking about the other ways, the other settings, the options, making sure that, I mean, if the traditional setting that you always saw yourself in, that you always dreamed in, isn't working for you, before you walk away from a profession that you do truly love, look around, because things are changing. There are options that didn't exist before, many more of them. And those roles are absolutely growing. I know that we are, you know, industrial continues to be a bigger conversation. And that's, you know, when I'll touch on it, that's who the collegiate settings are going to have to compete with,
right,
in order to get to keep those people. So eventually, you know, the tide will lift everybody. That's the hope.
Yeah.
That's the hope. But in the meantime, I think the one thing I would say to help at least address burnout is, if you're not happy in your current role, make changes. There are changes out there. There are so many jobs open right now. Go make the change. Don't just give up, because not that I think anybody's just going to give up and throw away their credential or anything like that. But I've definitely seen the conversations in this Facebook group, you know, that people are just like, I'm tired of not seeing my kid. I'm tired of not sleeping. I'm tired of not getting the respect I deserve, or the money I deserve. Like, that's totally understandable. But just before you totally give up on it and walk away and say, this is the year I'm not going to recertify or whatever, go make sure you've looked around, make sure that you've networked, use your connections to say, where else are other people? The grass might be greener on a different
At
side
that
of
time in your
athletic
life, yep.
training. Yeah, exactly. So I think just making sure that people understand that there really are options before you walk away entirely.
I think you made a good point when you talked about the, like, we know what the problems are. We got to get the institutions kind of on that same page and that awareness out there. Most of the institutions that we're talking about, especially at the collegiate level, I know I listened to that Timely Talk. I actually listened to it today because I wasn't able to make the live one. And I've been meaning to listen to it. And most of these are NCAA institutions, is NATA working with the NCAA, or is there some kind of initiative to kind of keep those institutions fair employers or maintain retention in that way, by setting that standard across the board in some way? Obviously NCAA is a big key player in many other elements. You talk about coaching, and we talk about those athletics in general. Is there any kind of partnership or some kind of conversation having at that level where they are also kind of pushing forward that same kind of conversation that you were just talking about?
At this point, we do have contacts within the NCAA that we work with, and there are conversations that are happening there. At this point, there's not a dedicated initiative or a partnership with the NCAA on this issue in particular, but conversations are happening, and they are going to continue to happen. And we do have people on in the NCAA who are very aware and have been instrumental as we've been, planning these timely topics. So the answer is yes, it's not an official partnership, but yes, those conversations are happening.
That's great to hear, because as an institution, they're a big key player, and obviously, they're the hosts of all these tournaments and stuff like that. But always want to make sure that obviously, if we can get that conversation out on a larger scale where everyone's listening, obviously that probably would be awesome.
It would be awesome, and that's a goal. We're not there, but almost that's the goal.
We talk about membership benefits at NATA, what it means to be a member, what you get out of your membership. It's easy to glance over when you're looking at that list of like ICUs and Career Center access. It's easy to glance over like, oh, the NATA does have direct line to the conferences and to the NCAA and to the NFL and to the sports governing bodies, and to like, that's a big part of what we are able to do as an organization because of the members we have, because of the members within the profession that we represent and the percentage of the profession that we represent. That's a huge, I know that sounds, when you say saying it out loud makes me like, of course you realize it, but it's not on the list, right? It's not on that list that you're ticking off as to like reasons why I'm going to pull out my wallet and put my, pay for my dues this year. It might not be the first thing you think of, but it's a gigantic benefit. And it's also one of those benefits where, and I don't, there's reasons to not be members. I understand that it's not for everybody. I get that. Not everybody's in the place they're able to or whatever, but that's one of those things too, where if you're not a member at this moment or you're not able to be, we still have your back. Like, you're still part of the profession. You're still part of those conversations. When we go to talk to, when our leadership, when your board, when your president, when your executive director go to talk with these large organizations on the behalf of the organization, they're not leaving out non-members. You're part of the conversation as well. So it's a huge member benefit. It's also just a huge benefit of being an athletic trainer and having a profession like the NATA to help.
So our next question, what was a terrible situation for all to watch? How do you think that the NATA and athletic trainers can sort of capitalize on the Damar Hamlin situation, like that situation, how to promote athletic training as a profession?
That's a great question. And, we all watched that night. We all saw it. I was texting Kathy Deeringer that night as it was happening. We all saw it happen, and it put athletic training in a spotlight like never before, because for the first time on national television in front of millions of viewers, they watched what athletic trainers actually do and started thinking, I think that's kind of a catalyst to change the way that athletic training is perceived, and we were very careful and very cautious about how we moved forward, not making any statements right away. We wanted to be respectful of DeMar, making sure that first that he was okay, and also of the athletic training staff of the Bills, being respectful of them, and we were in contact with them. And so once it became apparent that DeMar was going to be recovering, then we started a PR push. Because of that situation, for the first time, we were invited to participate in Radio Row at the Super Bowl. So Kathy Deeringer went to the Super Bowl, Radio Row. She did interviews. She did, television, radio, and we've never had that kind of access before. But it was because of the elevated visibility of those athletic trainers that we were invited to that. So we expect that will continue now that we've made those connections. But that was absolutely the reason that we were there, was because of that. We've continued to be involved. The NFL just rolled out on Tuesday a new initiative that we are partnering with them as well as with other professional sports teams and KSI. It's a new initiative that the NFL Foundation is really, they are driving it. So in the next year, they have designated $1 million. They're starting with $15,000 per NFL club to distribute into their communities to make sure that high schools who do not have access to AEDs have AEDs in their, in their sports programs. And there's three kind of main components. And again, we were part of this. We were part of the press conference. We've been, supporting the bills that are out about this, and we've been involved from the very beginning. So the three components of this initiative are: one, emergency action plans, which of course we are very much involved with. So one of those is to mandate that every high school not only have an emergency action plan, but it's updated annually, that it's practiced, that that everyone involved knows what that emergency action plan is. That's one. Number two is having an AED on the sideline or within 1 to 3 minutes of availability. The third is to have mandatory CPR training for coaches, and the athletic trainers would actually do that training. So those are the tenets of this initiative, and we're really excited to be able to be a part of that. And we are continuing to have conversations with the Bills athletic training staff about possible future collaborations with things and with DeMar. So we'll see how that shakes out. But yes, we absolutely we're trying to make every effort to elevate the profession and let people know exactly what athletic trainers are. And we've rolled that into youth sports safety and talking about the need to have athletic trainers in every high school. And Kathy just did a satellite media tour a few weeks ago. She was in Chicago and she did over 30 interviews, both radio and television, across the country with a neurologist and board member for Abbott. So we have a partnership with Abbott now, and it's about concussion awareness. So March was not only National Athletic Training Month, but it was also Brain Injury Awareness Month. So the two of them did this satellite media tour, and Kathy was able to talk about, parents, you need to be asking these questions before you let your child go to sporting event. You need to ask, who is taking care of my child? Is there an athletic trainer on staff? you know, do you have an emergency action plan? Who's taking care of my child? And she was giving statistics about how many high schools do not have access to an athletic trainer. And every single interviewer, when she would talk about that, went, what? I had no idea. Well, absolutely, parents need to be asking this. I can't let my child go on the field if I don't know that there's someone there to take care of them. So that has opened so many doors in just the past 3 months. And we're continuing to really press forward to get as much awareness out there about the importance, and that youth safety and health has to be the priority, not the backup. It has to be the priority. The athletic trainer should be hired before the coach is, right? Their health and safety is more important than wins and losses.
100%. That is.
Yeah. Doug Casa said that today in an Aspen Institute event that Kathy also participated in, talking about youth sports safety. And, you know, when they're talking about the safety of children, there's nothing more important than that. And you can't think about, okay, so as a school, we're going to budget for the coach and for this and for the tournament and the logistics and where everything's going to be held and what times they are. And then if we have anything left over, we might hire an athletic trainer. No. That has to come first. It has to be a priority. And as Kathy always says, when a school says, well, we can't afford to hire an athletic trainer, no, you can't afford not to hire an athletic trainer. I don't know what I was talking about now, so I'm totally off tangent.
No,
I'm
you're good.
pumped.
You're
You have me
good.
so pumped. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, I don't know what the question was anymore, but whatever.
No, it's great. That's
I think-
fantastic.
Yeah, I think. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I think it's great that like you mentioned that, because I think the biggest thing for us as athletic trainers is it's, you know, it's good for us to see, you know, things that are going on with NATA, but it's also something that when we see the NATA posting and doing things like that, like it gives us as athletic trainers more of a resource and more of a way for us to kind of avenue that and know that like, okay, our national organizational board is going to, you know, go along with what we're.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is sort of on the, well, it actually is related to the Damar Hamlin thing. And you may have seen this story. This was a story out of Kentucky, very close actually to an incident where a high school athlete actually passed away from a sudden cardiac arrest because they didn't have they didn't have the medical personnel there in time. But this particular athletic trainer said, you know what? I am going to teach every coach CPR. This is what I'm going to do. And so he went through all of the coaches and assistant coaches, trained them in CPR. He trained them himself. They ended up saving his life when he had sudden cardiac arrest on the field. And he's like, so his training directly saved his life.
Yeah, it's a pretty good story.
Yeah, I just actually saw and read that story. I think it's great that you say that, because I've actually like I said, I read that today, so it's crazy to think and crazy to see. But you know, and then you have stories like the school in, I believe it was Chicago, where or somewhere up north, you know, with the school that the coach was, you know, had practice and was, you know, doing way more than he should have, and had kids that had rhabdomyolysis, and then the athletic training staff was like, you guys aren't doing anything to the coach, so, you know, we're leaving.
Yeah, they walked out.
So, you
and
know,
the coach, and along with that story, I'm glad you brought that up, because the quote that I gleaned from that initial story that the school administration, the college, I think it was, I knew what it was now, but anyway, this college, they said, well, we don't expect that this will affect our practices or games. You know what? They had to cancel their whole season, right? It does affect it. And what does that affect? That affects the bottom line of that university too, because sports brings in so much revenue for that university. They didn't realize what they were doing, but hello, Yeah. And I have so much respect for those athletic trainers that said, we can't work under those conditions. You know, I have the utmost respect for that.
Oh gosh, sorry, trying to do like 3 things at once. But I guess the last thing you guys kind of started alluding to it anyways, was the bills and legislation that is, being put in place. I guess specifically out in California
Mhm.
right now, with them trying to get the licensure and certification process to be something
Mhm.
that's now required for athletic trainers out there. What is the NATA doing to kind of help push that bill along, and
Yeah.
potentially maybe speed up that process for them?
Well, we've actually been working a lot with California, with their state leadership. And for a long time, they've been trying to get this passed, right? And we feel like this is one of the most critical issues in 2023, is to get licensure passed in California. Because if licensure passes in California, and we have it in all 50 states, then that will allow us to move the needle in other ways. Okay, so it's critical. And it's critical because it's the most populated state. It has the most youth athletes. It has the most people that can be potentially at risk. They have to pass this. And we will do everything we can to help that happen. So as of now, we've been working with the state leadership. Kathy actually went out to the California state meeting. We were involved in a Tufts meeting where PFAS was there, the Rams were there. They were all talking about this bill, and the author of the bill, Dr. Weber, was there as well. We got a lot of press. I mean, we've had press from ABC, CBS, NPR, LA Times, all of these people, and Sacramento, a lot of the papers in Sacramento. Kathy did quite a few television interviews when she was out there. And it's almost like they're hearing it for the first time, or it's just now registering, because for this time, it's being approached as, this is not about athletic trainers per se. This is about public health, right? This is a public health issue. This is not, we want to make sure that they're certified and licensed. So, there's regulation because we want to regulate things. No, this is because this is a public health issue. And in order to protect student athletes, licensure has to happen. That's the only way. There has to be regulation, or you cannot protect those students. And you've seen some of the stories coming out of California of, people who have claimed to be, or, they are calling themselves athletic trainers. They're being hired as athletic trainers, and then they're arrested for, egregious activities that they're doing, So it's a critical issue, and we are on top of it. We are working as closely with California as we can. Obviously, they have to do a lot of it, but we are right behind them, supporting them, doing as much as we can, whether that's in public relations, whether that's in government relations, whether that's Kathy's presence at their events. Critical for 2023. That's a goal of ours, is to get it across the finish line. And it almost feels like, and maybe you get this too, it almost feels like it's sort of like a perfect storm right now, because of the awareness. There's more awareness now because of Damar Hamlin. The professional teams in California are wanting to get involved. They're like, yeah, we got to do something about this. Now is the time to do it. It's top of mind now, where it wasn't before. It's higher profile. People are taking notice. So it's like there's momentum, and it's really exciting to watch. And, we'll be keeping updates going, as the bill makes its way through. It has to go through committees before it goes onto the floor. But yes, we are absolutely very intimately involved in that process.
Well, and the California State Association and our government affairs team and our state legislative team, like you guys, we're talking speed dial here. We're talking people who are, this is another one of those
they get on the red eye and they fly out there to be at a legislative meeting. They do.
You need us where? Like,
we'll be there.
Be right there. And that's how that's working. I mean, that's the kind of support that NATA is able to lend, and that expertise is incredibly valuable. And it's really the to watch the national and state organization work so well together right now on that is actually really cool. Like that's you can't, I mean, certainly not to take any credit away from the work the state itself is doing
Oh, they
as
have
well,
done
right? Like,
tremendous work.
yeah,
Tremendous
but
work.
it's a team. It's an honest
Yep.
to goodness team. So we're really excited to see where the year goes.
So one of our board members is actually from California, so she is really passionate about it, and we're trying to see at what, how she can help, and obviously each member within themselves can help at the state of California, but then also nationally, it's not just a one and done type thing. And so that's great to hear that that extra support is obviously there and trying to help push that forward, because many times it has been that bill has been put out there and then has been denied and not pushed through, unfortunately. So hoping that this is like the year that it actually comes through, and it is beneficial for obviously the athletic trainers that are working in the state, but also, like we mentioned before, that the athlete safety is top priority, and having that availability out there and having that insurance is really, really, really groundbreaking in many ways, specifically for the state of California. So hoping that, as we go through 2023, this continues to move forward and finally gets passed.
Yes. California
Well,
23, let's go.
And I wouldn't be a director of membership if I didn't at least say, if you want to watch these, this happens because of members. This happens because you join the national organization. You're able to support at the national level. That helps to bring that expertise. You're able to support at the district level. You're able to support at the state level. I mean, I can't not say it, guys. I can't not say it. That's what the NATA does. And that's where I say, occasionally you'll see that conversation. I can go other places for my CEUs. Sure. Yeah. If we're not your flavor, you absolutely can. There are options, but nobody else is doing this. Right. Nobody else is doing advocacy at this level. And we're talking about the future of the profession on a whole, your profession. Like it's just so the one of the best ways to support directly and indirectly is simply by joining, renewing, get a friend to join, get a friend to renew, pull people back, have the conversations. And again, I know it's not for everybody. I know we're not going to win every single heart and mind, but this association earns so much of its strength from its numbers, from the numbers of athletic trainers that it's able to say that we represent. The head of a 6-year-old just came into my green screen. Sorry about that.
No, y'all are sorry at all. It's again, that's part of the Uncorked. This is real life. Like this is the conversations that happen. So, but like kind of what you're talking about, I think, so I work in Delaware. I'm on the state board association, and this is the first year where we're really working closely with the budget. And one of the things that really was helpful was seeing kind of that new tool that you guys put in with how much of the money and my membership is going towards the state of Delaware for us to help push forward our initiatives. Because we are, we have so many goals and so many things that we're trying to achieve. How is this all playing together? And I think that was really informative for me, because I didn't know. So if anyone hasn't played around with that, I think it's going to be super helpful for you to better understand where your dues are going, kind of. But then also how much that funnels into that state association that's really trying to help push forward that advocacy and education and all the things that we've been talking about this whole Zoom call. But sorry, go ahead.
Yes, that calculator is amazing. If you haven't played with it, it's really, really, that's another thing that we're proud of this year. It's one of those simple tools that makes a big difference, helps kind of really highlight, this is what I'm paying for. Okay, clarity. That's what we needed. It's not new information, it's just being presented in a way that's more accessible. And that's the kind of, to be able to provide something like that. That's what we're here to do. We're going to keep getting better. We're trying.
No, and I as a board member of a state association, I greatly appreciate it, because then now I have a better understanding of wherewithal of that budget and how we have to allocate what from here to there. And if you guys don't know, Delaware is pretty small. So trying to figure out, what we can do with those funds and stuff like that. So no, and depending on the state and all those things. So that was super helpful for me. And I really enjoyed that new feature. But I feel like we've talked about so many different things. A lot of all these questions came directly from Women in Athletic Training, the members who have requested these questions for us to ask. Is there anything else that you can think of that you would like to share with the Women in Athletic Training members from your guys' perspective?
I would love to say, if you have questions, ask us. Ask us anytime. If you're not sure of something, if something sounds weird, if you're upset about something that has to do with the organization as a whole or your individual membership or whatever. I mean, we added the online chat this year. We answer phones, we answer emails.
And that
Honestly,
online chat, those are real people.
Those are real humans.
Real people.
That's my real team, and occasionally, and I try to stay out of the conversation as much as possible, even within the Facebook group, but occasionally you'll see me chime in because I can't help myself. But ask the questions, that's if I were to say anything, really truly we're happy to have the conversation. We're happy to provide the clarity. Yeah, that would be if I were pleading to anything, it would be, please join, please really consider joining us in Indy, and please ask questions. If nothing else, just ask us the questions.
That was going to be one of my follow-up questions. We've had so much good information, and you guys have clearly educated us that, we can reach out and ask those questions. What is the best way for Women in Athletic Training members to reach out to you and ask those questions? Is there a certain platform? Is it the question feature within NATA now? Is it email? Like what is, for each of you individually, what would be the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Donna's gonna go to bed soon. So membership at nata.org is the general email box. It's not like that is not a black hole of the internet. That is our membership team. It's the same people who are on the chat. It's the same people who answer the phones. If you can't remember how to get to me directly, go through them. And you can always say, hey, I've got a question for Meredith. Hey, I've got a question for Linnell. Meredith D at nata.org. I mean, You can find me. I'm easy to Linnell A.
At NATA.org. And we also have we have a marketing at nata.org and also a PR at nata.org. But feel free to email me directly. And what I would add to what Meredith was saying about asking the questions, absolutely. And know that we really are here to help. We are here to help you. And if there's a problem, we may not have an easy answer. We may not have an immediate fix, but we're here to listen and to do whatever we can to help.
I think we humbly agree that there's always going to be room for improvement as an association.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're here to make things better. That's the whole point. So we really do appreciate feedback. We really do appreciate the questions. The more we hear from people, the better. So yeah, ask
And
them.
one of the things, especially from Marcom, marketing communications, we know that your profession is relational, and we're relational people too. And we want to have those relationships with you. We don't want to be, the big bad on the hill that nobody knows who we are and we just make all the rules or whatever. That's not what we're about. We want to know you. We want to be part of a community. We want this, which is why I'm thrilled that you asked us to do this tonight, because this is what we want to do. We want to be here to support you and to feel like, we want to listen to you, and we want you to know that we are listening and we are trying. And again, we're not perfect. We're not going to solve every problem, but we're going to try. We're going to listen and we're going to try.
And that's what I feel like that's when, I think about the conversation about renewing memberships and, the people, talking about not feeling heard. I feel like this is like the perfect, this is exactly what, people have been talking about. You guys want to help, want to have the conversation, and the conversation can't happen unless it's brought forth or initiated in any way. So I think that is fantastic that you guys have taken the time again to talk to us. I know it's kind of late, it's non-traditional hours. We are athletic trainers, and so we also have non-traditional hours as well. And so we really appreciate taking the time and effort to kind of really look into answering these questions that I feel like I keep kind of popping up from women in athletic training. But then, you know, this is not the only space that people have been having these kind of conversations. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, and all of the members of Women in Athletic Training. We really appreciate it. And I feel like, I'm pretty sure everyone here has learned something that they didn't know before. And I'm really excited to hear, like, to see a lot of these initiatives that you mentioned earlier roll out and kind of continue to kind of bring that education awareness and that moving that needle forward for the whole profession. We did not have any questions through our Facebook page. We did have a thank you comment, so thank you to them.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it too. I think you can probably add me in the group too. If there's another question that comes up, you can always just, it can be that simple. If you don't want to do anything else. More rinse. Oh, you guys, she's turned 6 next week. Yeah, no, we should be easy to get a hold of, truly, because those questions are appreciated. Like you said, you can't have the conversation if you don't try. So at least give us a chance. We chose this profession I chose to be an association professional. I do this on purpose. This is actually my job. I love it. So I really do want to help.
And for Women in Athletic Training members, you know, if you have questions and you just don't feel comfortable for some reason to messaging these wonderful women, please feel free to message you know, Angelica, Maggie, any of the Women in Athletic Training board members, or the Women in Athletic Training page. We will get that, and then if we get enough of those questions in, we'll have another wonderful uncorked chat with these women and get those answers for you, hopefully, and have more of a discussion or conversation to kind of go a little more in depth than just maybe an email or something like that, you know?
I'd be happy to come back. How about you, Meredith?
100%. And I know that I know that our government affairs director, Amy, she wanted to join too tonight. Exactly. Yeah, she really wanted to. She was quite excited about it. So we're here for this. We can do this more. If there's a desire to have more conversations, there's a desire on our side. I'm going to hit mute again.
Yes, we are definitely, again, so happy and thankful for you guys to come tonight and answer these questions. But we will likely be doing this again. So there's a little teaser for you, Women in Athletic Training members. And with that, we're going to kind of sign off for the night. And then, so I'm going to stop the Facebook Live here soon. So have a good night, Women in Athletic Training members. And then, yeah, we're going to have a good night, I guess.
Good night, y'all.
You know,
Happy Friday Eve, as we call it.
All right, stopping and now. Okay.
Oh, yep.